Want to look ahead to Monday's trading session. Bob Iacchino of LotusBrokerage.com is at the CME watching futures. Boris Schlossberg of GFT Forex on the dollar. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Bob,
morning.
We didn't have the chance to trade on Friday on those jobs numbers. After a weekend of parsing the numbers, can the Bulls get a bounce out of that 162?
I think so, but I think it's unfortunate for equity investors and possibly the administration as well that the equities were closed on Friday. We tend to have knee-jerk reactions to these types of numbers. It was slightly above, not the whisper number maybe so, but the actual economists' expectations as surveyed by some of the services out there. So we could have gotten a bounce off of that, and if you look at sort of the psychology of the trader's mindset, the trader's outlook on things, what tends to happen is you get that bump, and then you get people, as it dips back and calms down, that feel like they missed something and push it back up even higher.
Yeah.
Having the weekend to look at these numbers, you're starting to get a little bit of skepticism.
We're going to get a lot of consumer spending, pending homes and so forth. I wonder, do traders feel like the three-legged stool of housing, employment, and spending are starting to get some legs?
I think so, but, you know, it's kind of funny that we talked to, you guys actually talked about volume earlier and how the sort of individual investor seems to be kind of, I think cautious is even a weak word to use.
Terrified.
And that's something where, terrified maybe, that's something where your savvy investor and people that you guys are probably speaking to should take note of that. The mood is good, the fundamentals are good, there's people out there still predicting a potentially or possibility of a double-dip recession, but those who get in now in sort of this quiet time are the ones that are going to reap the big rewards when that euphoria comes back in. We don't have euphoria, but we do have a positive mood to the equities overall.
Boris, I don't know what you want to touch on this Treasury delay on China, dollar-yen getting a lot of attention. What's on your radar?
Well, dollar-yen, there's three reasons why it could potentially still go up. We have the ISM today. We have a potential rumor of a Fed discount rate hike possibly today with a special meeting.
Yeah, do you buy that?
Maybe. Okay. I think it's a possibility. It's certainly not something to be ruled out of.
Right.
And of course, the big story I think this week is going to be Treasury auctions. So if yields start to creep up, and if we do start to see the 10-year go close to 4%, dollar-yen 95 I think is a very, very distinct possibility.
And do we see that with yields?
Do we see that? Do we see the yields starting to creep up? I think there's the combination of so much supply, relatively weak demand, and the fact that the market is now starting to see a perceptible increase in U.S. economic activity. There's a reasonable chance that yields are going to start to creep up, and that's going to help push dollar-yen higher.
Bob,
yes.
what would that do to equities?
Well, I think the rise in yield isn't, there's no fear of that in the market at this point. Now, we'll touch on something else, that the surprise rate hike by the Fed isn't really a surprise anymore if it happens. It's been talked about since Friday morning. So that surprise kind of comes out of the market. It almost becomes a disappointment when the talk dies down. I think the equity markets are going to have a little bit of a pullback midweek after we get through this rash of numbers, but I think we're still on solid footing. You guys mentioned it earlier in the show. 3 days, I think it was, triple-digit gains?
Yeah.
Those aren't going to come. It's, once again, the trader's mindset on this thing is that we have to get that extra volume in. We have to get the retail investor in. Until then, cautiously long is the way to go, but long is still the way to go.
Right. Waiting for the wave, just like a good surfer.
Waiting for the wave.
Yeah. Bob, Boris, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.